Hey guys, Marshall here again. Bright and early today. I got out here early, experiencing a nice breeze. I want to do this more often in the morning. Most of the time, I'm shooting in the afternoon. I want to sort of find a reason to get out in the morning and do something specific because this is kind of exciting. This is me putting myself out there. This is an exciting thing. I think people in general need a little bit more excitement in their mornings. Uh, I feel like there was so much more excitement in my life in the evenings than in the mornings. In my whenever I was growing up, maybe when I was younger, I think there was a lot of excitement in the morning, and I was just I was ready to get up and do whatever it was. I was gonna go out and do things, play with my siblings and stuff like that. Um, I want to get back to that in a way to find exciting things to do in the morning. But that's not really what today's about. I was thinking about a good spectrum to think about, and this one is like building intuition or just kind of like staying dense in like a in the thickness of like it's very right brain versus left brain, and the left brain is like a thickness and denseness to resist the intuition. And I always I always find that these connections to other parts of my life. And once again, I'm back to whenever I was playing soccer. Intuition was one thing that I sort of excelled with. Um, and as I progressed on my senior year of soccer, I was very good at pressing other teams' defenses to sort of create opportunities for my teammates to make their runs, give them time. And it wasn't something that I was, you know, that I learned immediately. It was through like practice. It was practice of intuition. Um, and so whenever I would do this over and over and over again, I run into these, different restrictions to my space and time whenever I push a defense. But I would do it anyway, and I was creating all this opportunity in a very restricted environment because I played center mid. It's a very restricted environment. You have a lot of times you're playing against a stopper, um, or like a center defensive mid that's marking up with you. You got other center mids around you that are marking up against you. You've got defenders that are going to step up on you, and so all of a sudden you're faced with all of these restrictions and players. And if you're going to go forward in that environment, you have to use a lot of intuition because you don't know what you're gonna face. You don't know what they're going to bring at you. You don't know if they're going to double team you, or uh, there's a bunch of different scenarios. You don't know what sort of angle they're going to take and everything like that. And so once you build off of intuition, whenever once I beat one player and I had some time and space, um, I just had a bunch of different tools in my arsenal for that made me feel comfortable in that intuition. Um, and you have to develop those things. If you don't, a lot of players, they don't develop that side of their game where they can jump into something and just worry about what happens later. Um, and I think that was one thing that was kind of a struggle with our team, was that we were in our head too much about thinking about what needed to happen. I think a lot of players were like stuck in their head, like I need to get this ball, when they weren't really thinking about the timing, or committing to the run and trusting that they're going to get the ball and stuff like that. That's kind of like an intuitive thing too. You don't have the ball, and you need to trust in someone who's going to get you the ball when you make that run, or or you don't even set up correctly to make the run because you're not even focused on what your role is or something like that. So like you could, if you're a forward and you can pull back a little bit, um, and sort of understand that like someone like me was going to give them the time to make their run. So if they can pull back for a second, they could make their run full speed, and I could find them, as they sort of penetrated the defense. Um, so that was one thing that you can really strengthen in an athletic field, because it is very. I mean, there's a lot of creativity that's needed on a soccer field, football field, basketball field, and the best way I can also think about that is from a quarterback's perspective. You think about like Ben Roethlisberger, and what he would do is he would just continue to make time for his players to make to do whatever their routes would even progress, and then their routes would change into other routes, and it turned into backyard football, and it turned into like um, very creative. You just didn't know what he was going to do, and that was the biggest problem against playing against Ben Roethlisberger for other teams, is that all of a sudden you might be able to prepare for the initial route that all the wide receivers are going to take. But what about this secondary route and all these pump fakes he's going to throw at you and all this diverse stuff that he's going to do intuitively and he's not even thinking about? He was making these decisions, pump faking whenever he'd pump fake to just get that. I think a lot of times he'd pump fake and he knew he wasn't going to throw the ball anyway, and so he knew he was going to just create space for another player to do something. And all of a sudden he'd pump fake and and the ball's out of his hand, and it was so hard to defend that. And that's sort of what I think a lot of quarterbacks sort of do that, but I don't know. I don't remember seeing a quarterback that did that as well as Ben Roethlisberger. Then you see younger guys that are sort of developing that, like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, and guys that are developing that creating time, not necessarily just run the ball, but to look for other routes, and to be able to use the diversity to their game. And this will transfer into the social world, where if you're going to network with people, if you're going to talk to women, you have to really be able to jump into conversations and not know what the outcome is going to be, and not be so outcome dependent. Have a direction of the conversation, but like you have to build this intuition to be able to be comfortable. Even like doing something like this right now today, I have nothing to discuss. None of this stuff is scripted. I have a couple of ideas in my head, and none of this stuff is scripted, and I'm just sort of going with the flow. And so whenever you go through life, there's just certain different areas where you need to build intuition, because it isn't something that's just very drawn out for you. You have to create this intuition and this muscle in your brain to be able to be able to function in those different environments where there's different impacting distractions and different angles that people are going to put at you. And so, is your intuition, is it fortified in a way? So that you're comfortable doing all those things. And one thing you got to watch out for is like doing things that sort of crutch your intuition. Whether it's drinking or doing some other things to help crutch your intuition. You gotta build that muscle yourself, and there's different ways you can sort of help build it too. I think meditation could be a really helpful way to help build your intuition, because you're clearing your mind of different you're clearing the mind of the chaos to just be able to not even, you're like practicing not even thinking about a single thing and just thinking about that moment. And so like I feel like I was very in the moment at times in my life, but I never really meditated. Um, or when I did meditate, I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like either sun tanning or whatever. You know, there were certain things that was helping me get a release and to help me stay in the moment. Um, an entire soccer game was very in the moment for me, so that was one thing that sort of trained uh, myself to let go and just be in the moment. I think that's one thing. If you don't have any athletic background, um, it can be hard for you to get into this intuitive detachment from outcomes, detachment from the fear of losing in a way, to the point where you won't even take that chance, and so you might have to find a different way to get into this, like into your physical form and be in the moment. It's like it's hard to describe being in your physical form but in the moment. I'm trying to think what would be the most uh, would the third eye chakra be most intuition based? Actually, no. Third eye would be how you perceive the world. I guess maybe your expression, your throat chakra would probably be your your most like intuition focused one, because you're doing a lot of expression. Um, so I don't know, just like the last episode, this one, just think about where you're at. Think about where you're at on the spectrum. If you're leaning too far towards your right brain methodical thinking instead of your intuitive, well, I'm sorry, I messed that up. If you're thinking too far on your left brain side, and it's sort of creating some denseness to your interactions with people, you got to find some way to channel that right brain, whether it's meditation or doing some sort of sports or athletics to get your focus off of your focus towards it in the moment. And I think it's very good to, whenever you're exercising, to also not be even distracting yourself. Oh my! So you have to be aware of distractions whenever you're trying to hone this intuition. Um, so if you're going to the park and running, you probably shouldn't be uh, listening to music as much. Maybe think about what you're doing, what you're seeing, and everything like that, and that could sort of hone your present mindedness and your intuition, so that you can really grow that muscle of your brain, and bring some familiarity with that, and bring some comfortableness that leads to a relaxed, flowing, intuitive state of mind. So just think about where you're at. Think about why something might be holding you back, and once again start realizing what's going on and how you can sort of improve it. But don't let it rule your brain, and find ways to meditate. And when you're meditating and something pops into your mind, ask yourself why you're even thinking about that. And so all of these certain things that pop into your mind, ask in the moment why that even matters. And a lot of times it doesn't even matter at that moment. And then you can think about what it does matter, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, what might be holding you back from getting your release to to a very balanced mind. So that's it's a very, very important aspect of all of this, a very important core aspect. And we've talked about all the chakras. If this stuff confuses you, you might want to visit all the chakras, because I think that all of them together can help you build your intuition. They're all different kinds of, things. Your physical is in your lower spine. Your sexual, your comfortability with your sexuality, and all these things, leading up to your mind, your soul, and your connection with God. All of these things can help you feel a little bit more comfortable in your expression. And if you have some limiting beliefs that pop in your head and they consistently pop in your head, make sure you write those down so you can address them and sort of flip those limiting beliefs to something more positive, so that you don't get held back from stupid things that don't really affect your reality, external things, and then really focus on your internal, improving your internal self too, internal and external self. So and it's very important to understand that it's not like a clear-cut thing. If you just build your intuitive state, you're going to have success in life. You got to find some balance in both. There's this very certain importance to being left-brained and right-brained, and finding out what works for you. And that's very important. You are your own self. You know yourself better than I'll ever know you. And so you are your best friend, and you can figure out whatever it is that's holding you back. You're just you could be just days away from finding a very important understanding of yourself that really creates this comfort in what you're doing on the earth. And so once you establish this comfort, for me it was thinking about the chakras, all the chakras recently, thinking about how I could focus myself on different aspects of the chakras to help improve how I feel on a daily basis. And all of a sudden there was this just immediate change in how I felt on a daily basis. I started going to sleep with less thoughts in my head, I just created this very strong outlook in the world just over a couple of weeks, and it just strengthened my ability to be comfortable with doing things like this and growing. So let's look at everything. Let's look at the big picture here, and look at all these things that sort of can lead up into your intuitive way to express yourself, and whether it's physically or verbally, just go for it. Build that muscle, and then show other people how to build it. Whatever way you conquered it, other people can conquer it. Someone will be able to relate to you, and yeah, I mean, just go for it. Start the growth. Start that focus on the self-development. It's really important. It's really important to sort of just get out of the fog and just start improving. And that's going to be it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video. Subscribe. Maybe send it to somebody that you want to motivate in a way to strengthen their their right brain. Maybe it's a teammate. Maybe it's someone that's a friend of yours. They might need to improve a balance between themselves. Okay, thank you guys for watching, guys. Love you. Peace.